Good afternoon and welcome to Real Builds. This is going to be our first project. It's a 1984 Ford F-150 pickup long bed, and we're starting with the basics. As you can see, she's a pretty solid old truck, but she needs a lot of help, and we're going to show you how to do that right here in your own backyard. So let's take a pretty good look at what we're working with. This truck has been sitting a while. It's been in the backyard far too long. The paint is in serious trouble. Wheels and tires, well, you can see what we're talking about. They're rusty, the tires are about done, and we have some rust issues to deal with, particularly back here on this wheel well, and we'll have to get into and show you how that's done. Now, the inside of the truck, other than needing a massive detailing, is in pretty good shape once you get past all of the junk that's piled up. The windshield, however, will have to be changed. And again, the paint's a problem. In the engine bay, she's a good running old truck, but she could sure use a lot of help to make her look better. And we'll start that right away here on Real Builds. First step is to get the truck body clean and polished and in shape to see what we're going to have to deal with in terms of body work. We know we've got some rust, we know we've got some other issues, but we need to get a better handle on it. So we've washed the old girl. Now we're going to take a heavy-duty rubbing compound for cleaning and one for high gloss and go over the truck by hand. Now you can do this with a power polisher, with a buffer, a number of ways, but not all of us have access to that. So we're going to do it today the old-fashioned way by hand with an applicator, rubbing compound, and a whole bunch of sweat. So here we start doing in a small area first, small circles, giving it a fair amount of pressure in order to get the compound cut. And as we polish, we keep it swirling, and it doesn't matter what color we're going over, but we just keep up the work until we can tell we're starting to dry out. At which point we dig out a rag from our stockpile, wipe it off, and see how we're looking. And it's already starting to come up. Now we'll take a little bit of the high gloss on a small patch of rag, and you don't need very much of this particular brand. That'll be enough for the area we're doing. And repeat the process. Small circles, a fair amount of pressure, just keep going. Now this is taking all the oxidation off the original paint and getting us down to see what the finish really looks like. First we get the dirt off with the wash, then a polish. This isn't a wax, this is a polish with two different levels of rubbing compound, a heavy duty cleaner and one to bring out the gloss. We take our excess rag, give it a polish, and see how much of a difference we've made just in a couple minutes on this fender. So now we're going to keep going through the rest of the truck and see how she looks as we go along. Keep watching. Real Builds. As you can see, we're just finishing up this fender after about 20 minutes. So look at the difference that we've got. It doesn't look like the same fender, but we've learned a few things. One is this whole strip down here is going to have to receive a bunch of bodywork and paint. The little stuff we can probably deal with, and most of the paint by appearances is in awfully good condition. So we won't need to do as much painting as I had originally assumed. So we'll meet you at the other end. Welcome back to Real Builds. It's been about 3, almost 4 hours since we started polishing the truck. We've followed the manufacturer's directions on both the heavy-duty polish and rubbing compound and the light rubbing compound. We have not waxed it, and please don't. We've also polished the chrome and gone over the wheels with steel wool to see if they were salvageable. So let's take a look at what we know now, some good news, some bad news, and we'll move on to the next step. Well, here we go with the good news. You can see by this view of the passenger side of the truck, it's actually in quite good condition. Very little work to do. Even the wheels are in good shape. Now the bottom 6 inches has chipped up pretty badly, so we're going to have to deal with that, which is going to be a lot of sanding and painting, but that's the easy start. As we come around the front, you can see the chips in the hood are going to be a problem, and we have to figure out how we're going to deal with those and how we want it to look. On the bottom edge, the rock guard above the bumper has the same problem, but none of this is that severe. The bumpers are in good condition, all the chrome cleaned up really well. But then we get to the bad news, which is the driver's side. Now the driver's side, as you can see on the lower edge of the fender, it's taken a lot more of a beating. As well as the driver's door, a lot of chipping, and some big ones. But as we go back, news doesn't get any better, because we've got to deal with a real strong rust problem. Now it's a fairly small one, but it still has to be dealt with. And as we come around the back, we have a tailgate full of rock chips and really badly faded that didn't come back up. So we're going to have to deal with it. Our step bumper's good, it could stand a coat of paint, but my heart's kind of set on finding a chrome one. Overall, the truck doesn't look like the same truck. It's bright, it's shiny, the chrome looks good, but there's work to do, and work we wouldn't have found out about if we hadn't taken the time to go over the truck and rub it down and clean it up really well. And along that same vein, now we're going to take a look under the hood. Now just before we go under the hood, let's fire it up and see what she's running like. Starts well, runs well. Other than our foot brake light or emergency brake light, there's no flashing lights and sirens. Not a bad little engine at all. Revs smoothly. And it's doing everything it's supposed to. Now, before you bought the vehicle, or if you're like me and have had a truck lying around for a long time, or a car, I hope you took it for a test drive and checked it thoroughly. As we go ahead, we're going to get into more detail, but making sure the vehicle is good before you get it is a good start. Now, one moment and we'll be under the hood. Now here's our engine as it ticks away. We can see there's no big problems, no massive oil leaks, no nasty noises, but a lot of dirt and filth. All needs to be taken care of. Battery cable ends that are about shot, heat stove pipe that's well on its way to gone, and lots of little things that need a pile of attention. But overall, a good running truck that will need to detail the engine compartment and give it a good tune-up on an oil change. Now that we have her up and running and all warmed up, let's take her for a short drive to see what the rest of the driveline and suspension are like in our project truck before we go taking off the wheels and looking underneath. nice and smooth, clutch is good. Now what we're looking for as we're driving are rattles, shakes, drivability problems like stuttering, stalling, problems like that, looseness in the steering, the brakes. When you put them on, do they work? Do they pull to one side or another? All things you need to take a good look at before you start tearing things apart. A really good evaluation is a big part of starting any project. That's why we start with cleaning the body, because we knew there were going to be some issues. Now we're checking out the engine and driveline for drivability. We've been under the hood. We know there's lots of cosmetics under the hood to deal with, as well as maintenance that's been put off for several years, and I'm the one guilty for that because I just haven't been using the truck. Overall, the bumps, no noises, shocks are working good, no bouncing, no problems. And as we come to a stop, we can see the brakes are working well, no pulling, and no problems. She goes through the gears nicely. A big 6-cylinder and a 4-speed are a nice combination in the older Fords. Now we all want a V8 and we still may end up going in that direction, but there's a lot to be said for the big 6 in a truck that's going to be doing some work. So if she doesn't pull as we go down the road, another application of the brakes will make this one a hard one. No pulling, no squealing, no problems. These are all good signs, so we can expect as we get into the suspension, the shocks are probably okay, the ball joints, the kingpins, the bushings, none of those are giving us problems. We might have to reline the brakes, maybe turn the rotors and drums to bring them back up to spec, but overall, it seems like we've got a good little truck to start off with. And remember, as we go ahead, we're not going to do anything you can't do yourself. And if it's something you shouldn't be doing, we're going to tell you. For now, we're going to move to the next step, and let's get some wheels off the truck.